Good afternoon and welcome to the promotion ceremony in honor of Major Nicole L. Chitwood. Our host for today's ceremony is General Laura J. Richardson, Commander, United States Southern Command. Please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the singing of the national anthem by Staff Sergeant Ethan Green from the United States Army Chorus and the invocation delivered by Chaplain Tim Miracle.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Reading from Proverbs 15. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. Help me pray in your tradition as I pray in mine. Lord God, our wonderful creator and counselor, you grant all wisdom, compassion, and authority. Thank you as we gather here today to celebrate the devoted service of Major Promotable Nicole Chitwood. You, Lord, imbued her with the courage and wisdom of Esther and the heart of Rachel. You helped her to be the right and to move forward with compassion, care, and commitment as she advised so many senior leaders. Bless her husband, friends, colleagues, and all who are here with them and those who could not. Thank you for her husband, Josh, and stood by her all these years, and we celebrate with their 3 furry dependents who brought them so much love and this amazing family. As Nicole and Josh continue in active service, they request that we also lift up the Army and joint family communities. God, as we have seen so much turmoil in our fallen world where inhumanity runs rampant, may we highlight the support systems in the Army and the communities that share each other's burdens to assist as we walk together through this journey called life. May you endow Major Promotable Chitwood with strength, patience, and peace to see through the storms, the trouble, and the triumph, be a lamp to her feet and a light to her path. May the flame of freedom blaze bright from this nation and be a beacon of hope for all the oppressed. May your face shine upon us and grant us courage to follow you as people who are humble, helpful, and honorable. In your precious and matchless name, amen.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, General Richardson.
Well, good afternoon. You can say good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Good. Just grab this mic. Welcome. It is so good to see everybody here. And my very good friend, General Pyatt, Walt Pyatt. It's good to see you, my friend. And Cynthia. Thanks for being here today. I have my husband, Jim Richardson, who's here, also knows Nicole very well. And Command Sergeant Major Jones, my senior enlisted leader for United States Southern Command. So thank you all for being here. But all of you, as I look around the room, I see a lot of people that I already know from different places and different times. So really glad that you're here. So thank you for being here in honor of Nicole – and Josh, so on this really, really important day. Getting promoted to lieutenant colonel, very important time and very important ceremony. And I'll talk about that in just a minute, the significance of that. But I want to recognize the family that's here and then some of the friends too. So right next to Nicole is Josh. The 3 fur babies aren't here. The queen, the yiddle boy, and the maniac. But anyway, we have Josh, and that's all that matters. Josh, I've had the pleasure of getting to know through time during our last assignment, mine and Nicole's. And so really, really proud of what you've accomplished, and I'll talk about that here in a couple minutes too. But we have Nicole's parents here, Robert and Cookie. And thanks for being here. Thanks for coming in early and over the weekend and in support of Nicole. So we have the 2 brothers, and Sister Katie's on the net, but the oldest brother, Robert, raise your hand, Robert, so everybody knows where Robert is. And then Nicole's in between Robert and Scott. Scott, raise your hand. So Master Sergeant in the United States Air Force, been in 18 years, C-17. C-130 maintainer, and then Katie, who is watching all of the other fur babies that are in Chicago currently. So, hi, Katie. Want to make sure that we give a shout out to Katie, and thanks for being on the net too. We also have so Cookie's family is all here. So, is that Haley or Hannah? Hannah's on Aunt TT's lap. Can you say Aunt TT? Oh, you're you grandma. Oh, you're not Aunt TT. You're Grandma TT. So Aunt TT is here. So Nicole's aunt and Uncle Tim. Thank you for your service in the 82nd Airborne and deployed to Kosovo. And then we also have, where's Uncle Jim and wife Kim? Okay, welcome. Thanks for being here. And then we also have cousin David and wife Stephanie. And Dylan, raise your hand, Dylan. You might need to stand up, buddy. We have Dylan, and then Haley. There we go. And then Hannah. Raise your hand, Hannah. Thank you for being here. We're really glad that you're here. I want to make sure that I didn't forget anybody, because I know we have lots of folks here. But Nicole's best friends are here as well. So we have, where's Stacy Martins? She's what? She's on the net. Hi, Stacy. Make sure we give a shout out to Stacy. Lieutenant Colonel Isabella Lundy. Raise your hand, Isabella. And then also we have Courtney Garrow. Where's Courtney? Is she on the net too? Okay. Hi, Courtney. Make sure that we recognize Courtney. So those, when Nicole says she has very best friends, she has very best friends for a really long time. So I want to make sure that we recognize her friends. But very special to be able to do this. We spent a lot of time in the last, our last position, stationed at Fort Sam Houston, Texas, in United States Army North, which is one of the 6 Armies, Army Service Component Commands. And so a lot of time on the road, a lot of traveling and things like that. But the significance of pinning on Lieutenant Colonel when you just think about it, and thinking about the just the time invested in your career. So about the average pin-on point is 17 years for making Lieutenant Colonel. You're about 40 years old-ish. That's what it says on the internet, right? About 17 years of service-ish, about 40 years old-ish. What is the other significance that says, oh, you're below the rank of colonel and above the rank of major. Yeah, go figure. Okay, got it. But the important point here is not that just we're pinning on Lieutenant Colonel, which quite honestly, if you've worked with Nicole, and all of you have, in some point, way, shape, or form, in my mind, she could have pinned on Lieutenant Colonel 2 or 3 years ago. She was doing that level of work way before now. And so this is way overdue. So it's certainly my pleasure to be able to do this and finally do this. But the other thing that is special about this is she's waiting on the battalion command not the list for selection, but actually the list for where she will go serve. And that'll be coming out here pretty soon. But our new process for what we call BCAP, which is how we select leaders now, for command, it's more rigor into the system on the Army side to ensure that we are selecting the right leaders to do that very important job of leading our soldiers. And with all of the time that we've had and the combat time, Nicole herself has had 2 combat deployments. That's very, very important to the Army, to lead America's sons and daughters. And so she is waiting on that, but the selection for that is pretty significant. And for signal officers, 14 of 53 signal officers were selected for battalion command, 14 of 53. 26%. Not very many. Now I could take our infantry brothers, right? Percentage is 56%. So it gives you an idea of what the competition when there's more, a bigger population. So this is a pretty significant point in time for Nicole. And so I'm really, really proud of Nicole and what she's accomplished. So she is from Chicago, Chicagoland, Elgin, Illinois. Frankly, I've never heard of Elgin, but Chicago I have, and everybody else has. But she grew up, obviously a very close-knit family, the Ponce family. So Nicole, Leah, Ponce, Chitwood. And we have all the Ponces that are represented here. Also Yvette, I'm sorry, where is Yvette? There she is. I am so sorry. That is Josh's mom. And she came in from Oklahoma. And so thank you so much for joining us. I never got to meet Yvette, but Yvette took care of the fur babies while Josh was doing all of his reserve time and flying. And Nicole was traveling with me when we were doing COVID response and all kinds of things in Army North. So Yvette, thank you very much for what you have done for Nicole and Josh. So. Thank you. But grew up in Chicago, and Uncle Tim was always every now and then talking to Nicole about the Army. Nicole never wanted to join the Army. That was never in the cards for Nicole, or never in the deck that Nicole had or looked at, frankly. And she wanted to be a doctor, so she focused on getting good grades. Keeping her brother Robert and Scott apart because she was the one in the middle, so keep those two from fighting when mom and dad were at work and those kinds of things. So a lot of family dynamics, but it's pretty neat. But wanted to be a doctor, and then once got into college and was a poor college student, figured out, I don't like being poor, you know? How am I going to pay for college, number one? Without sucking down a whole bunch of loans. And Uncle Tim had a solution to that. And that was, hey, you know, join the Army. They can pay for your school. And so eventually Nicole ended up doing that, joining ROTC, and the rest is history. And she came into the Army and commissioned out of the University of Illinois in Chicago, UIC, with a degree in biology. And then from there, 16 years, so Nicole has 16 years, a little bit ahead of that 17-year point that I mentioned earlier. 16 years in the Army, moved 12 times. You've had 12 different assignments, so you've been on the move. And you started off going to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I'm still not quite sure about Fort Sill, Oklahoma. You commissioned a chemical officer, and so Fort Sill, Oklahoma for basic officer leadership course. From there to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for the chemical basic course, and then off to Germany. And first assignment in Germany, assistant operations officer, a deployment to Iraq in 07-08. And that's where you got to be a battle captain. You got to be the battalion chemo. You were in the 12th Combat Aviation Brigade and the 4th 12th Aviation Support Battalion. You rattled off all those statistics on all the helicopters, and the commander said, "Are you an aviator?" And Nicole said, "No, I'm the chemo," and also being the battle captain. So That shouldn't surprise anybody here. If you worked with Nicole, Nicole knows her stuff, regardless of what it is. And so that was very true from the very first assignment in the United States Army. From there to Fort Riley, Kansas, redeployed I should say, and went there for 1 year to a Warrior Transition Battalion, of all things, right? And was the Battalion S1. So you're chemo, just got back from combat, and you go to Fort Riley, Kansas, to the Warrior Transition Battalion. But you know, I'm a firm believer in things happen for a reason. I really do. And taking care of our soldiers who have been wounded in combat, making sure that, that they're taken care of the right way, because just having been in some units at a higher level and understanding how many surgeries, how many appointments, navigating all of that is extremely hard. And so, but they gave you an affectionate nickname called Batwoman because she was able to take care of everybody. She knew the ins and outs. She knew who to talk to. She knew how to do the paperwork. She knew how to do awards. She knew, and you think, well, anybody knows how to do that. No, you don't. You might know how to do it, but you might not be effective at it. Nicole was effective at it, and she figured it out. And she figured out how to take care of people, and that's what she did. So for 1 year at Fort Riley, Kansas, kind of en route, it was like a touch and go, en route to JBLM. So Joint Base Lewis McChord in the state of Washington. So 3 years there. That's actually where Josh and Nicole met. Still want to know the story behind the meet and greet, but anyway, maybe I'll get that someday. But 3 jobs there, very significant. First communications job or signal job that Nicole had, Battalion S6, followed by company command of a signal company there at JBLM. This was in 4-2 Stryker Brigade Combat Team, so not the easiest of any unit to go to. And then, of course, nothing more honorable than to lead soldiers in combat, and they deployed to Afghanistan. And so in RC South, and for those of you that know about Afghanistan a little bit more than most, the Stryker Brigade Combat Team in RC South in Kandahar suffered a lot of casualties, a lot. And so Nicole brought her entire company back and did a fantastic job there. And then you were made an Infantry Battalion S3 to finish off that tour. So all positions coded male. That tells you a little bit about what Nicole achieved being in a Stryker Brigade Combat Team. Being an S6 and then a company commander, and then the brigade commander said, move all your pink stuff out of your office and get over there to the S3 shop and be the S3, right? That's pretty awesome. So, and of course, she did a great job as that. So that's where, again, back to Josh and Nicole. The thing about Josh about this time in the career was flying Apaches. But Josh had 14 and a half years before he got out of the service. And he was a Paladin crew member, had 3 deployments under his belt, 2 to Iraq, 1 to Afghanistan. So he had his own share. He's been shot, he's got a Purple Heart, and thankfully been able to fly after having been shot in combat, in a firefight as a Paladin crew member. And then, but they met there. That's where the relationship started. And then Nicole was reassigned to Fort Sam Houston, Texas, to the 56th Signal Battalion. From there, 3 years, right? That's where they ended up getting married in 2015, actually. Josh was still flying Apaches, but got out shortly after that because they knew it was going to be hard doing the dual military thing. So he preferred to get out and support Nicole. But make his way through the civilian, actually the reserves, and now the civilian route for flying. From Fort Sam Houston, S2, S3. Actually been to Southcom before. She, in that role, they handle our NEC, all the security inspections for the Network Enterprise Center. Is that what the NEC is? the NEC acronym. And so you've been to Southcom before I was, and then also part of developing the Combatant Commander Global Communications Team. What's the acronym? GC3T or something like that, right? Okay. So my communication team and the other 5 for the 6 Geographic Combatant Commands started from that battalion when Nicole was there. That shouldn't surprise anybody. From there, up to Fort Leavenworth, to CGSC, and also for 1 year, another 1-year assignment, and I worked at night to get the master's degree. That's one of her second highlights of her career, or accomplishments, right? May not be a highlight, but it's accomplishment, therefore it is a highlight. And then from there to the 25th Infantry Division. Got to be a Brigade S6 communications officer and also Deputy G6 for the entire 25th Infantry Division in Hawaii. 2 years doing that. And then I selected her as my aide-de-camp coming to U.S. Army North. And that was probably the best decision ever. And I would say the entire U.S. Army North was very thankful to have Nicole there because, the people in the right places, making the right decisions and taking care of a commander can really smooth out things quite a bit. But I'll tell you, what we encountered with COVID and the entire nation as we watched the Eaches and the folks being flown from Wuhan, China, and they were being off the cruise ships, flown to California. We were the ones that were all watching that, overseeing that, along with the NORTHCOM as the combatant command, and then how it spread across the nation. The first sets of deployable medical folks that we deployed out were to the Javits Center in New York City, and at the same time, a field hospital up to Seattle, Washington. That was the start. And then from then on, for the next 2 years, it was solid. It was the COVID response in over 50 cities or over 70 cities. We had also did the vaccination sites, over 50 vaccination sites across the nation. Our medical providers were working when they were in the hospitals. We quickly figured out it was better to not put our medical providers into empty event centers and try to build hospital infrastructure, but to actually put them in civilian hospitals across the nation to where all the infrastructure is there. And so that's what we did. And then normally our folks, the military, active duty military providers, are young, they work hard, and so what all the civilian medical providers would say, we love them. They work 3 times, we get 3 times as much out of your military medical providers because they work longer hours, they show up to work on time, and they do their job, and they don't complain a whole lot, right? So it was, we went into probably over 50 COVID ICU wards because that's where our service members were working. And so the best way to know if the right procedures are in place to take care of your troops is to go through what they do, to kit up with the PPE, go in there, see what kind of conditions that they're working in, and then come out and take off all your PPE the right way so not to infect yourself, and just go through the whole process that they were going through. And so, but Nicole had helped support this, and she was pretty significant in this role and what we did. And without her, I wouldn't have been able to do my job. And without her, the rest of the command wouldn't have been able to do theirs, the primary staff officers. So this was a really critical time for our nation, and she was in the right place at the right time. Go figure. From here, as we talked about what was next for Nicole, and clearly the Pentagon, Southcom or the Pentagon, and we thought it best that the Pentagon was probably the right place to go. Get the enterprise level time, and very lucky that she was able to come to the Joint Staff J5. Is Dr. Long here? There, Dr. Long, thank you very much for taking care of Nicole. So she's on her, initially assigned up here as a cyberspace strategic planner, and she's really the executive officer or EA for Dr. Long. in strategic stability. So thanks for everything you do and the leadership that you provide, all of us combatant commands. Really, really important, so thank you. And I'm sure that you quickly found out how squared away she is, and so it's really, as we say, it takes a village. Well, here's your village, Nicole. They're all here today, and they're here in support of you for everything that you've done. This is the girl that didn't want to join the Army. She grew up with saying goodbye to Uncle Tim, who was in the 82nd Airborne Division. So as a little girl, Rob and Cookie would take Nicole, and probably Scott too, and Robert, Katie, to the airport. And Nicole said she would suction her face to the glass that looked out at the plane, suction her face to the glass, and then just sob when Uncle Tim took off. And so all she knew about the Army was the fact that it was always saying goodbye. And that's why she didn't want to really join up to be in the Army and look to be a doctor. And now go figure, pinning on Lieutenant Colonel today for Nicole Chitwood. Just really proud of her and Josh and everything that they've accomplished. And so, but again, it does take a village, and the village is here, as I said. So it's my pleasure to be able to pin and host this ceremony for everybody. I told the family when we talked before the ceremony, I said they could jump up and take pictures. They could do anything they wanted. This was their ceremony. They didn't have to sit still. They didn't have to behave or anything like that. So this is a very special room, the Hall of Heroes. Very, very special. My husband, Jim, just retired with 40 years from the United States Army as a lieutenant general. I won't look at him or I'll start boo-hooing. And he just retired after 40 years of service. I was promoted to colonel in the Hall of Heroes. And so many, many people are promoted and retired here. But it's, we're amongst heroes in here, truly. So there's no better or fitting place to be able to do this promotion. So I look forward to meeting all of you. All of you, don't run off back to your jobs. I want to shake your hand afterwards. But thank you for the support. Thank you for the great job that you all do that work here in the J5, on the Joint Staff, on one of the Army service staffs. Really, really appreciate what everybody does. So with that, let's go ahead and promote Nicole to Lieutenant Colonel.
Mr. Chitwood and Master Sergeant Protz, please join General Richardson in front of the flags. Please remain seated during the publishing of the orders. Attention to orders. The President of the United States has reposed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, valor, fidelity, and abilities of Nicole L. Chitwood. In view of these qualities and her demonstrated potential for increased responsibility, she is therefore promoted from Major to Lieutenant Colonel by order of the Secretary of the Army. Replacing the Army Green Service uniform jacket ranks are Major Chitwood's husband, Joshua, and her brother, Master Sergeant Scott Protz.
Frogs. There we go. There's no hurry. See, everything's smaller for the women. Everything's smaller. A little more petite.
Will Mr. and Mrs. Protz please join Major Chitwood in front of the flags? Replacing the shirt epaulet ranks are Major Chitwood's parents, Robert and Sherilyn Protz.
We all love our new belt on our new agency uniform.
Thank you, Mr., Mrs., and Master Sergeant Protz. Will Mr. Robert Protz, Miss Mulcahy, and Mr. Nooncaster please join Major Chitwood in front of the flags? Replacing the windbreaker ranks are Major Chitwood's uncle, Tim, and Aunt Karen.
How quickly can you fasten the belt?
Replacing the garrison cap rank is Major Chitwood's brother, Robert.
Nicole's encouraging him to hurry up a little bit. It's perfectly fine.
She's encouraged me to hurry up.
Lots of pictures.
Thank you, Mr. Chitwood, Mr. Nooncaster, Ms. Mulcahy, and Mr. Protz. General Richardson will now present the promotion certificate to Lieutenant Colonel Chitwood.
Oh, the coveted Southcom coin. Don't forget that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
General Richardson will now reaffirm the oath of office to Lieutenant Colonel Chitwood.
Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Nicole Leah Chitwood,
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the
and
same,
allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
and I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of
or
evasion,
purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office
of the office
upon which
upon which
I am about to
I am
enter.
about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Okay, I think I'll leave it right there so you can't hear me, my dry mouth, and my nervousness. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, I am in awe of how many people are here today, and I know that there's more out there in the virtual land as well. So it's a good thing that I have a speech typed because your presence has rendered me speechless, really and truly. I don't know if I've seen a ceremony yet with standing room only, so I really appreciate all of you being here. And what a marvel it is to be doing this promotion in the Hall of Heroes, like General Richardson said. It's a room dedicated for all of us to honor the brave service members who receive the Medal of Honor, which is the highest award for bravery that can be awarded to members of America's armed forces for exceptional acts of valor. So afterwards, take time to read all the names on the wall and appreciate the room that you're in that's dedicated to those service members. General Richardson, Lieutenant General Retired Richardson, Lieutenant General Pyatt, Mrs. Pyatt, Command Sergeant Major Jones, Dr. Long, and Mr. Spear. Thank you for being here today. I know all too well how busy your schedules are, so it means more than you know for your presence here. To all of my family, friends, and coworkers, thank you so much for being here as well. Quite a few of you flew in from out of state to be here, and I can't tell you how special that is to me. You've all played a part getting me here today, and for that, I am extremely grateful. I would like to say a special thank you to the Army Protocol team, Elizabeth Simpson and Michelle Fry, for putting all of this together and helping keep my stress levels at bay. I think they know from my previous job that I get a little worked up. Thank you to Staff Sergeant Ethan Green from the U.S. Army Chorus for what a wonderful rendition of our national anthem. Your voice was incredible, so thank you. Thank you to Colonel Miracle, the XO, for the Chief of Chaplains for that lovely invocation. Specialist Anthony Jackson from the Old Guard for keeping everyone on track with your narration, and Specialist Horton for being the award bearer. I really appreciate you guys. And one more thank you to my J5 STS team for helping me set up and marshal everyone through the building, get the cake through the building, and it didn't topple over. So I really, really appreciate all of your help and all of the escorting. I'm going to try and keep this fast and brief, as I'm not the biggest fan of standing in front of people and being stared at.
As you can already tell, my ears are turning red. Soon my face will follow, if it hasn't already. I would like to start by saying thank you again to General Richardson for being here and hosting this ceremony. Ma'am, I know your schedule is much busier than it was at Army North, and at Army North, as you had said, it was an absolute whirlwind with all of our missions that we had going on. I appreciate you taking the time to be here for me. I value the type of leader you are, respect how you got where you are today, and I'm beyond grateful for the opportunity to have been your aide for 2 years and to continue still keeping up with you as you pave the way for all of those following you. I can tell you that I've been fortunate in my Army journey. Over the years, I've had great leaders, great soldiers, great assignments, and great examples to get where I am. As we all know, we can't get to where we are without our people. Like General Richardson said, it takes a village. This promotion isn't about me or anything I did. It's about my people and my village that have brought me to this point and continue to have faith and trust in me to lead and motivate me to keep going. It's all about the people who have invested their time, love, and energy to support me. While I can't recognize each and every one of you here on the live stream because my speech would not be brief and fast, clearly, there's too many people here, I would like to call out a few who have taught me what right looks like and who have helped bring out my leadership potential and who have made such an impression and impact on my life. Feel free to raise your hand or stand up if you're in the room so that everybody can know who you are. Crystal Porter, my very first battle buddy and friend. We went through ROTC together. We were in Ranger Challenge together. And she's a very successful woman now outside of the Army. Go Pink Rangers. CW4 retired Curtis Augustus. Another dear friend whom I first met when I was a brand new second lieutenant and I had to be assigned as a FLIPL officer in the Aviation Support Battalion where people lost all kinds of stuff. And so they pinned it on the new second lieutenant and the chemo. And Curtis helped me along the way. And then our relationship soon turned into a beautiful friendship. Shannon and Patrick Robbins. Two of my soldiers when I was a platoon leader that I've continuously kept in touch with since I was their L Fizzle, but most of you know the term as LT. We deployed together and they were my test dummies when I was a brand new second lieutenant. And they're still around, they still come around for more, so I appreciate it. Lieutenant Colonel Clark Brown. Oh, I see you over there. My fellow brother commander when I was a company commander. We deployed together. And I was a part of 409 Infantry Battalion, and I was a signal company attached to them, so I was the only female commander, and Clark was one of my brothers, and they all gave me hell, but it was good. Lieutenant Colonel Cliff Hubbard, he's in the room. A couple of these folks, the next two folks, Major Josh Dial, Major Keith Marilot, they're virtual. Major Tom McCaffrey, gotcha. CW3 Jose Hernandez, there you are, Chief. All part of my Tropic Lightning G6 team, one of the highlight assignments of my career thus far. Lieutenant Colonel Jackie Ralston, ooh, my Tropic Lightning work twin. All through our KD time in 25th ID, we were in the sustainment brigade. She was the 1, I was the 6. In the division time, she was the 1, I was the 6. And so a lot of people got us confused. They found themselves asking me about evals and admin, and they were asking her about the network and how they could get her computer fixed. Majors Ryan and Kimberly Brown. Oh yeah. The dream team of excellence, who were also part of my Tropic Lightning team, but who also played a key role in helping me get prepared to be an aide. Because Major Brown was General Clark's aide. So he spoke from experience when he helped me. Colonel retired Dave Trotter, Colonel Marty O'Donnell. Oh, sir, there you are. Lieutenant Colonel retired Matt Schifrin, Major Akar Brombat, Command Sergeant Major Phil Barretto, the CG's Commo team, Perry Delosier, Carol Francie, John Nelson, and the rest of my Army North family who played key roles as my time as an aide. Lieutenant Colonel Isabella Lundy. She's the beautiful lady in the yellow dress. She is my lady soulmate. We met at the Signal Captain's Career Course in 2010 and have been inseparable ever since. And a fun fact is, Isabella and I are the exact same person, but I'm short and she's tall. A special shout out to my best friends that are piped in back home, Stacy and Patricia, who have been with me since the glory days. You ladies have been by my side through thick and thin and have shown me what unconditional friendship means. I'd like to recognize my family, who you will see up in the first 2 rows on my front left. I will try not to get emotional during this part of the speech, so if you've never seen me cry before, it's not cute, I promise. During the actual promotion, you were all probably thinking that there were a lot of people on this stage. The thing is, there could have been more up here, but I only have so many articles of uniform that can be pinned. I'll start with the 2 most important, my mom and dad. Growing up, they always told me that I could do whatever I put my mind to and that I could be whatever I wanted to be. With hard work, dedication, passion, and compassion, I could go far. Thank you to the 2 hardest working and most loving people I know and who gave everything they had to their children and still do. Next, I'll move on to my siblings. My older brother, Robert, who by default became my very first friend and also had to be the example of what to do and what not to do when we grew up. Being the oldest child is not easy, but you did it, bro, no matter how hard it got. And I'm proud that you are my big brother. My younger brother, Scott, my twin power. While we are not even close to being twins in age, nor looks, or height, we are almost identical in thought, emotion, lack of patience, and feelings. I've adored you since you were a little boy, and I'm so proud of the man that you've become. My sister Katie, who is not physically present here but is piped in from home. Katie was my real-life baby doll and my savior from having 2 brothers. She taught me how to love and nurture a human. So much so that I never had to have any of my own because I always had her, and I still do, even though she's all grown up now. Now to the people who most call extended family, but I call my second set of parents and my second set of siblings. Uncle Jim, Uncle Tim, Titi. Those are my mom's siblings, but like I said, my second set of parents. So if mom and dad weren't around to discipline us, they were there, and they showed us the way. Just like mom and dad, you 3 are the hardest working and most dedicated people I know. Dedicated to your families and dedicated to making the world a better place by being shining examples. You each put just as much love and effort into me as if I was your own. And you all have your own children, so it was just more work for you. But it was good. And I'm forever grateful for your love and affection. My cousin David, who is only one of 8 cousins that are more like my siblings. We went to college together and have always bounced things back and forth about life. We took long train rides from home into the city to go to school, lots of iced hazelnut Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I've learned a lot from you and the rest of the cousin crew by simply continuing to share our lives with one another and being there for each other. Grams and my late grandpa, Poppy. Grams couldn't be here today because traveling is hard for her, and while my grandpa isn't physically present on earth anymore, I know he's watching and saluting me, as he always did when I followed in his and Uncle Tim's footsteps, joining the Army. Okay, almost done. Finally, saving the best for last. And I went over this speech last night with Josh, and I started to cry. So he already knows what I'm going to say, and he knows when it's coming. I want to recognize my wonderful husband, Josh, who is my rock and my #1 supporter. For those that don't know, and even those that do know, Josh has his hands full with me, but he handles it with love and care. I know my family looked at him with wonder when he said he wanted to marry me almost 8 years ago. But in all seriousness, I couldn't do what I do every day if it wasn't for my husband. He takes care of the house, takes care of our fur babies, and most of all, takes care of me when I come unraveled, all while achieving his goals and following his dreams of being an airline pilot. I love you, babe, more than I say it and more than you'll ever know. I'm so proud of you for staying patient and dedicated to your profession, all the while bragging about how great your wife is and being my biggest cheerleader and supporter. As I said, we get where we are because of the people in our lives who have shown us the way. As I move forward, I only hope that I can continue to be the person and the leader that you've all been to me. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing and join in the singing of the Army Song, led by Staff Sergeant Green. The words to the Army Song can be found on the back of your program.
March along, sing a song with the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build a nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's hi, hi, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong, for wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. You are invited to congratulate Lieutenant Colonel Chitwood and her family in the receiving line, and they invite you to join them for a reception in the back of the Hall of Heroes. Thank you for attending.